If you're like me, you've watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse more times than you'd like to admit. I mean, it's got all the feels and then some. We're back in the world of Miles Morales, the one and only Spider-Man of Brooklyn. But this time, brace yourself for a universe filled with Spideys from different dimensions. And let me tell you, Paviter Prabhakar, the Indian Spider-Man, stole the scene. Kudos to the comedic genius Karan Soni for voicing him flawlessly. Now, I don't usually compare animated films, but this one is a masterpiece with fully realized characters, so I'm making an exception. The burning question is, did Sony's confident yet endearing performance live up to Paviter Prabhakar's fans' expectations? In other words, is he comics accurate? For those of you who've not been to my channel before, I'm going to compare and contrast three main aspects of Paviter between his original comic book version and the Sony animation version. The three aspects are personality, appearance, and abilities. After I make my comparison, I'm going to use a comic book rack to assign the live-action version of the character a comics-accurate score ranging from 1 to 5 comic racks. If you don't know what a 5-rack character is, think Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, while a 1-rack character would be Green Lantern in, well, Green Lantern. I'm also going to assess if its comic accuracy is for the better or worse for the character. In this breakdown, we are only going to focus on his comic book origin and storylines as the source material. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's get into it. When the first Spider-Man film swung into India back in 2002, it was a massive hit. So Gotham Entertainment Group, the folks who handle Western properties like Batman and Superman, thought, why not create a transcultural superhero? Enter SpiderMan India, making its debut in November of 2004. Suresh Sitharaman and Sharad Devarajan penned the story, while Jivan Kang brought the art to life. This project was a game changer because it took the core Spidey tale and gave it an Indian twist, incorporating their culture and values. Sharad Devarajan, the president of Gotham Entertainment, spilled the beans on the changes that made Paviter Prabhakar more relatable to Indian audiences.
What we wanted to try and touch upon was a chord that's more relevant to the Indian mythos and the concept of man versus mythology. And we've always believed that, this concept of a superhero really relates to a universal psyche that already is there in India through centuries of religious and mythological storytelling that depict gods and heroes with supernatural abilities. So the goal for us was really to try and see if we could, in some way, kind of interweave this mysticism, this mythology into Spider-Man's very origins.
We're a bit in the dark when it comes to the origin story of Sony Animation's Spider-Man India, and Paviter doesn't spill the beans on how he got his powers. So let's play a little game of director versus comic book and compare notes. In the comics, Paviter Prabhakar is a small village high schooler who snags a scholarship to a fancy Mumbai school, only to face taunting for being different than everyone else. One day, a mystical yogi grants him the power of the spider, equipped with the web of life, to combat a grave evil, threatening the world. Rushing home to show off his newfound abilities to his Uncle Bim, Paviter makes a fateful choice to not save a woman under attack by thugs. Uncle Bim steps in, but tragically loses his life. It's in that moment Paviter recalls his uncle's words, "With great power comes great responsibility." It's like the Peter Parker story with a magical twist. Now Kemp Powers, the director of Across the Spider-Verse, unraveled the mystery of Paviter's powers in the film. Paviter's powers came through magic, so he is quite different from a lot of other spider people who were bitten by radioactive spiders. He actually gained his power from a mystical shaman. When it comes to personality, our hero Paviter takes on two different flavors. In the comic book version, he's a lot like the original Peter Parker, struggling with low self-esteem and feeling like the awkward outsider. But despite his self-doubt, he has a strong sense of protecting the vulnerable like his Aunt Maya. Now in Across the Spider-Verse, Paviter flips the script entirely. He's the polar opposite, overflowing with confidence, boasting about his looks, school smarts, villain catching skills, and even his love life. And let's not forget the classic Spider-Man trait of witty banter, keeping the baddies off balance with his clever quips. It's like Paviter went through a personality makeover in the multiverse. When it comes to appearances, Spider-Man India knows how to rock his unique style. In the comics, Paviter sports a humble attire, reflecting his small village background, with a close-cropped hairstyle and cultural hoop earrings. His Spider-Man costume sticks to the classic design, but with a twist. He incorporates a dhoti, loose-fitting pants culturally appropriate to Indian customs, and stylish curl-toed slippers. Now, in the Sony animation version, Paviter takes on a new look while still embracing his cultural identity. He's muscular, strikingly handsome, and flaunts his long, luxurious hair. Since he attends a school with uniforms, he blends in with his peers. But his Spidey suit has a unique touch. The top of his mask is open, letting his hair flow freely, and he trades in his curvy slippers for bandages wrapped around his feet, channeling a kickboxer vibe. Plus, he rocks Indian symbolism on his chest logo and shoulder emblems, and adds some golden bangles to his web-slinging ensemble. Spider-Man India is all about fashion-forward heroics. It's time for us to look at Spider-Man India's comic book abilities and his Sony animation adaptation abilities. Now we have to break this down into the top 4 most important abilities, or we'll be doing this all day. I have selected intellectual prowess, superhuman abilities, natural physical abilities, and technological abilities. Let's bring up the abilities board. Now this is going to be quick, because from the abilities we've seen of Paviter in Across the Spider-Verse, he appears to be identical to his comic book character. Just like his American counterpart, Paviter is a gifted student in the comic, and he boasts about it in the film, which would give him an intellectual prowess score of 80. In regards to his superhuman abilities, he once again is no different from the American Spider-Man, which includes super strength, agility, spidey sense, and the ability to cling to walls. This gives him a superhuman ability score of 70. Now his natural ability score may differ because the comic book Paviter lacks the physique, the charisma, and confidence of his animated counterpart. So I'm giving the comic book version a natural ability score of 50, while the animated version gets a score of 65. Finally, we're at technological abilities, and while they both use web shooters, animated Paviter uses his golden bangles as he swings, giving the comic book version a score of 50, but the animated Paviter gets a score of 60. Now that we've gone over all the major aspects of Sony Animation's version of Paviter and the comic book version, we now ask the question, is Karan Soni's version of Paviter in Across the Spider-Verse comics accurate? Drum roll, please. In my opinion, yes. I'm giving Sony Animation's Spider-Man India 4 comic racks. Their origin stories seem to be very identical, but their differences seem to stem from their experiences as the mild-mannered Paviter. The Sony Animation version of Spider-Man India appears to be a more seasoned hero, comfortable in his own skin. They don't feel like different characters, but rather different points in their life, even though he says he's only been Spider-Man for 6 months. With that being said, I am excited to see him again in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to give a comic book fan like myself the opportunity to bring you into my world. If you enjoyed this video, do all the YouTube things. Like and subscribe so you never miss a new video. My name is Tom, and this has been Comics Accurate.